How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. What I want to talk about today is specifically why we chose to live in Cochise County, Arizona, and why it actually might be the best place for you to create your off-grid dream house. So this story starts back, I would say, I think it was back in 2015 when Hannah and I were living in Tucson. So we're putting out videos, and one of our subscribers at the time, who are now our friends, Bob and Karen, they just live outside, about 15 minutes outside of Bisbee. And they invited me to come down and to check out their off-grid house. So they built an approximately 600 square foot house using straw bale and cob. They did their own solar system. And right now I think Karen is in her early 60s and Bob is in his late 50s. And they're now living completely debt-free, not even tied to the grid at all. And they're just really enjoying their life down there in Bisbee. So when I was down there visiting, they explained the permit process to me about how you go from buying a piece of land to getting a permit and then to building whatever structure you want on that land. And when they explained the process to me, I was like, I want to live in Cochise County because it is insane how easy it is to basically build whatever kind of structure that you want. So if you're interested in earthships, if you're interested in rammed earth, earth bag, straw bale, cob, whatever you want, anything. This is one of the best places in the United States to do that building. And so we're going to go over the permit process right now and why that is. So if you go into Google Maps and you type in Cochise County, Arizona, it will basically draw an outline where this county is. And this county offers what is called an owner building amendment. And what that allows you to do is if you buy a lot that is zoned RU4, or RU8, RU16, I think, and then I think also RU32, which is basically just a standard rural lot, you can opt out of building codes and building inspections. So essentially what that means is you tell the county what you're gonna build, the dimensions of it, the height, the setback distances from your lot lines or from any washes or anything like that. You tell them exactly what you're going to be doing. You draw out a site plan, you draw out a map of what you're going to be doing. You submit that to the county. They will issue you a permit, and then you have 3 years from when that permit is issued to basically finish that house. Now, I'm not exactly sure if you have 1 or 2 inspections, but essentially all they're going to be inspecting is, did you build the house where you said that you're going to build it? And just to ensure that the setback distances are what you said they're going to be. And then that house or that structure is going to be fully permitted in Cochise County. So if you've ever had to deal with the permitting process of like building a house or building a garage or shed, you can understand that the permit process and having inspections can be really, really annoying. And many counties do not include building structures such as like an earthship or straw bale or earth bag, rammed earth, like all those alternative styles of buildings. You might not be able to actually get that type of structure permitted where you live. Since those building styles are not within the building code, you're probably going to have to get some type of special permission in order to do something like that. In Cochise County, you're not going to have to deal with any of that red tape. Now, I'm going to read over some of the stipulations of doing an opt-out. Because you don't have to do an opt-out. If you want to go the regular route of getting construction plans and getting it permitted like that, you can certainly do that here. They actually encourage that, and they actually discourage doing the opt-out. And we'll go over a few reasons why they do that. So the conditions required here, this is one of my permits here. No building code or utility inspections will be performed. Permit cannot exceed 4 years. So like I said at the start, you have 3 years to basically build your house, but you can actually get a 1-year extension if you're not completely finished. I believe you have to write a letter to the county expressing why you need that extension, but you can get an extra year if need be. It also says here, not for occupancy by members of the public and not intended for sale or rent. So that basically means if you're going to be building your own house like this, they intend that you're going to be living in it permanently yourself, and you're not going to just build this house so that you can sell it or so that you can rent it out. And then it also says cannot opt out for another 5 years. So if you're going to be doing an opt-out like this, you cannot opt out on a future building for another 5 years. Now, I don't know if that starts from when the permit is issued or when it is basically when it closes off. I don't know if that 5 years starts at the start of the permit or when it's finished. So I would just have to call the county and ask them for that. It also says a minimum building setback of 50 feet from the nearest primary bank of all washes is required pursuant to the Cochise County Floodplain Regulations, Section 8.3b. Then it also goes into some of the lighting fixture requirements, which is not really that big of a deal. It also says temporary RV permit expires 30 days after completion of single-family resident and must be removed or not occupied as living quarters after that date. So I'm going to go a little bit more into detail, but you can live in your RV or tiny house, something that's on wheels. You can live in it permanently as your permanent resident for 3 years while you're building your main house. Now, if you go to different counties around the United States or around the world, they might not even allow that. And they might only give you a 1-year permit. So they're giving you 3 years to live in an RV while you build your main house. The only stipulation is that once your main family residence is finished, you actually have to go live in it. And you cannot occupy either the RV or this tiny house as a primary residence. This stipulation is really so important and so awesome because this is exactly what Bob and Karen did, and this is what our friends Brian and Pam are doing, that they just live around the corner from us. So they're gonna be living in their RV while they build their main house, and they can do so legally. So we're not breaking any rules here, we're just following the guidelines of Cochise County. I'll just quickly flash up an example site plan. So I have my own site plan. I'm not going to post it all over the internet here. They're interested in knowing the setback distances, the size of the house. Are you going to have any kind of awnings or anything like that? A pool. They want to know where your septic system is going to go. They want to know where your garage is going to be. Any fences. It's really not that complex. What I did for our lot here to create my site plan is I took basically a screenshot of Google Images from above our lot here, and then I actually just used Adobe Illustrator to draw a site plan like this. That was actually a very easy way of doing it. But this is what they want for your lot. They basically just want to know where you're going to be building it, the size of it, what it's going to be built out of, how high it's going to be. That's essentially it. And they want to make sure that your building is going to be at least 50 feet from any major banks of a wash. It's a pretty simple process for getting a permit and having a fully permitted structure compared to having construction plans and getting an architect involved and going through all that shit, where you can just basically come here, tell them, all right, I'm going to build this right here. It's going to have solar on it. It's going to have this. I'm going to build a garage right here. And then that's it. And then they come out, they inspect it, and just make sure that you built it where you said that you're going to build it. One thing that you want to take into account, this is more of a tip, is that you want to include all the buildings on your initial permit that you're going to be building within those first 3 years. So we included our main single-family resident house, which is going to be an approximately 700 square foot rammed earth house. And then also the garage I included, and actually had to, on my original permit, that the size, I was only looking at something around 1,000 square feet. Over time, things have gotten a lot bigger, so I had to revise my permit. So I went over there and I revised my permit to include the bigger garage. So we included the house, we also included the septic system, we included the garage, and then I told them exactly where the tiny house or the RV here was going to be. I also put on there our little shed, but I think because it's so small, it's less than 100 square feet, that they didn't even need a permit for it. So you want to start to think about all the buildings that you're going to be able to do within those first 3 years. Now, the 3 years for the permit starts when you get the permit. So if you're not going to be building a house for a year, don't get your permit until you're ready to build. Don't just go out and get it and you're not fully ready. Get it when you're ready to build so that you don't waste that time, because you never know down the road, you never know exactly what's going to happen, and you might need that extra year. So like I mentioned, you can live in your RV, tiny house, something on wheels. You can live on that permanently while you're building your house. Basically, you just get another permit. I think it costed like an extra $20 or something like that. And you just tell them where you're putting it on your site plan, and you're allowed to do that. The only stipulation, like I mentioned earlier, is that you have to move out of it and live in the single-family residence when the single-family residence is completed and permitted and finished. So one thing that a lot of people do if they're building a new house is getting a septic put in. Now, they do actually have provisions for getting a composting toilet set up. So there are some rules and some regulations around that. We just didn't want to have to deal with that, so we just got a septic put in. The same thing that Bob and Karen did, just get a septic put in, and then it just kind of, it doesn't make things nearly as complicated. But you can certainly, if you don't want to put a septic in, you can certainly go the route of a composting toilet. So you can talk specifically with the county office about all the specifics about that, and they're gonna work with you on it. You can also include solar as a part of the permit. Now, if you're going to kind of go the standard route of building a house with construction plans, in Cochise County, you would have to get a contractor to install your solar system. But with the opt-out, you are allowed to do that because there are no building codes, you're opting out of building codes, and you're opting out of building inspections. So that's why we've been able to do our own solar system on the big ass garage that we're gonna be working on. I can install a huge solar system and I don't have to have a contractor do it, and there's not gonna be any inspections on it. Now, when you talk to some of the clerks at the permit office, they may tell you, you have to have a contractor do your solar system. This is false. They're not fully educated on what the opt-out entails, because I've talked to a number of different clerks in the Sierra Vista office as well as the Bisbee office. I keep getting different answers, but I talked to the guy who reviews pretty well most of the construction plans for the county, and I was just explaining to him what we're doing, and I was like, do I need a contractor to come and do my solar system? And he's like, no. You can do your solar system yourself because you're opting out of the building code and the building inspections. And I was like, perfect. I can just do all my own stuff. And to me, that's really powerful because the county is giving me the freedom to really kind of do what I want. And that's, to me, that is such an important aspect of living here, is the amount of freedom that we have. And it's something that I'm really, really grateful and I really cherish here. So I mentioned this earlier, the lot needs to be zoned either RU4, RU8, RU16 or RU32. RU4 is a very standard lot in rural Arizona. So it's going to be a rural lot. So you can't go into Benson, you can't go directly into St. David, you can't go directly in Sierra Vista or Bisbee. It's got to be a rural lot. And for most people that want to do this type of stuff anyways, you're going to kind of want to, live and have your own kind of little space anyways. So that's really not that big of a deal. Something else to look for, if you are looking for land in this area, I will actually leave my the real estate agent that sold us this. Her name's Diane. She's a really nice lady. She just lives right down in St. David there. And she's worked in real estate in this area for at least a decade or so, maybe 2 decades. And she was incredibly helpful. So I'll leave her link down below. If you're interested in land in this area, specifically in kind of the Benson, St. David area, definitely contact her and just let her know that Derek sent you. Something that you want to look out for is some lots, they might be zoned RU4, but they also have HOA restrictions. I know on the other side of the valley here, there's a development called the Dragoon Mountain Ranch. And they actually have really, really cheap lots out there. I think for 40 acres, you could, it wasn't that much. I think it was less than $40,000. But the caveat is that they did have HOA restrictions. So there are HOA restrictions on the minimum house size, and then there's some other things like that as well. Things like that, you got to look out for, just so that you don't buy a piece of land and then you have these types of restrictions on it, because that could really kind of throw a wrench into what you're doing. I know Diane specifically can lead you in the right direction. Just tell her what you want to do, and she'll look for lots that don't have any of those HOA restrictions. The county clerks may actually try to persuade you to not do an opt-out on your house or on your shed or garage. The reason for that, so they're going to try to instill a little bit of fear in your mind. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're going to tell you, if you end up trying to sell that house in the future, is that no banks are going to put a mortgage on that house for the person that wants to buy it. Now, that may be very well true, but there are also other options for selling a house. You can sell it completely for cash. That's one option. Most people are not probably going to be able to pay, full cash for, a house that might be worth $100,000 or $150,000. The other option that you can do, and this is actually how we purchased this land, is to do what is called a carryover loan. So instead of getting the banks involved with a mortgage, you can actually go through a third-party company like a title company in order to purchase this land. So when we purchased this lot for $70,000. I think we're able to put $25,000 or $20,000 as a down payment on it, and then we did a carryover loan with the owners of it. So the previous owners of this parcel, they owned this lot until it was fully paid off. So instead of sending your money to the bank, you send the money to the title company. The title company then sends the money to the owner of the lot. So it just kind of works like a mortgage, and there is going to be interest involved, but it's going to be basically a loan that is going to be paid back very aggressively. So I think ours was, we could pay it off over the course of 5 years. The payments are actually quite low, but at the end of the 5 years, I think we had like a buyout payment of it was like another $20,000 or $25,000. So over the course of those 5 years, we'd be making payments on it, and then at the end, we'd make a final buyout payment. So you can actually negotiate. You can negotiate these terms if you do want to do a carryover loan, and you can basically create any kind of deal that you want. But people that own and offer a carryover loan, they may not want to do obviously something like a 30-year mortgage or a 30-year carryover loan. They want it aggressively paid off because they want their money. So one of the main reasons why we chose to live in the Benson-St. David area is because if you go again on Google Maps, type in Cochise County, Arizona, Benson is one of the closest places to Tucson that is still in Cochise County. So that's specifically why we chose this area, so that we're only about 45 minutes from Tucson, 45 minutes from the airport. So if you want to travel, if we want to go out for dinner in Tucson, we can still do so pretty easily. Once you go into Pima County, which is the county that Tucson is in, they don't offer an opt-out, an owner building amendment like they do here in Cochise County. So that's why location, super important. One other thing that I quickly want to mention, when I was talking to the assessor, so one of the assessors came out after we got our permit, and he was just kind of checking things out, and he was looking at the plates on the trailer here and just ensuring that they're current. So the plates on the trailer, your RV, tiny house, they have to be current. He said as long as the plates are current on the trailer, you're good to go to leave that there. He also said if you wanted to get it permitted, we can do that as well. So one reason why I believe this county offers the opt-out is because they want to encourage people to actually live here and build homes. Why do they want homes being built? Obviously for a greater population and to stimulate the economy, but they want to make tax dollars. So the more permitted structures that they're earning tax dollars on, the better for the county, because this county is pretty poor compared to other counties. So we don't have a major metropolis here. Sierra Vista is the biggest place in Cochise County, as opposed to a place like Tucson, where it's a major metropolis, so there's going to be lots of tax revenue coming in there. Even if you have something like this here, you could possibly even get it permitted if you talk to the right guys and just be like, hey, can I get this permitted? Yeah, you'll have to pay land taxes on it, but what I ended up doing was just getting a permanent plate for the trailer, and for this tiny house here, I don't have to pay any land taxes on it for the rest of its life. Awesome, guys. I hope that helps. Already, since we've just been here just for over a year, coming up on a year and a half, I know of at least 4 or 5 couples that have moved out to this area, have bought land, and have plans to build their off-grid dream home and to live this pretty badass lifestyle. So I know Brian and Pam, they just bought a lot, an 8-acre lot just around the corner from us. I can actually fly my drone over to their property. That's how close they are. I know Jim and his wife, they're in McNeil. I know another gentleman named Kieran who bought, I think it was a place near either Tombstone or Bisbee. I think it was actually closer to Bisbee. There's been a lot of people that have gone out with Diane and started looking at land out here. So the opt-out specifically, it might actually be removed at some point in the future. So it is actually on the table to be cut. So I'm good because I've got all my permits already. I'm going to be writing a letter and explaining to them why they need to keep that opt-out so that people can come here and build some really unique structures. And having that choice, having that freedom to really do whatever you want and having minimal government interference, I think is just a blessing. So come check out this area. I think it's a beautiful area. If you're not a big fan of the desert, I think I can understand, but it is pretty awesome out here. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Talk to you soon. Peace.